During the introduction to the course, I mentioned several different services, and what I want to do now is drill down into each one of them and provide you some additional information. And one of my most favorite services is called Microsoft Teams. So we're going to drill into this and provide you some more detail. Specifically, I want to make sure you have a clear understanding of what Teams has to offer. Then I want to provide you some information regarding how to configure Teams, and we can do so using both PowerShell as well as a GUI. Now, as I did in the very first module, I provided you a definition of the service, and what I want to do is just provide this as a refresher in the event that you stepped away from the course and now are coming back, just to make sure you understand what Teams are all about before we go into the details. Now let's talk about Teams and explain what some of the options are. Really, in a nutshell, it's a chat-based hub for teamwork. And the individuals within the organization that use Teams, their identities are stored in Azure Active Directory. So if you have any type of hybrid configuration, you're going to want to make sure that synchronization is taking place between on-prem and Office 365. And with that said, I've broken out Teams into two primary functions, the first being communications and the second being file storage. Now with communications, what do I mean there? What I mean is I can communicate with the entire team. I can perform online meetings. I can have individual or even group chat conversations. I can use audio and video conferencing, or if I'm not feeling or looking that good that day, I can just choose to use audio. I can share my screen, so if I want to share some information or show something to somebody, I can do that as well. So that's the communications portion. Now on to file storage. It's a team within SharePoint. So you're actually sitting on top of SharePoint. We're also having some information. We're talking about specific documents that I'm working on as an individual. It's actually also integrated with OneDrive for Business. So Teams works very tightly with SharePoint and OneDrive for Business, and it takes advantage of some of those features that it has to offer, like co-authoring. Now, if you've decided to use Teams, we have a couple different options as to what flavor of Teams that we want to use. We have a licensed version, and we also have a free version. Well, let's talk about the difference. Microsoft Teams Free is good for up to 300 members within your organization versus an enterprise license within Office 365, which is pretty much unlimited. File storage for Microsoft Teams Free is 2 gigabytes per user and 10 gigabytes of shared storage versus Microsoft Teams Licensed, 1 terabyte per user. They both allow guest access. They both allow one-on-one and group online audio and video. They both allow channel meetings. They both allow screen sharing. However, scheduled meetings, meeting recordings, phone calls, and audio conferencing are only available with the licensed version. When it comes to the administration of Microsoft Teams, the licensed version supports admin tools for managing your users and your apps, usage reporting for Office 365 services, a 99.9% financially backed SLA or service level agreement for uptime, and some configurable user settings and policies. So as you can see, there's several more items that I can manage when I'm using the licensed version versus the free version. And as I mentioned when I introduced Microsoft Teams, it's extensible. We can extend it using connectors, we can extend it using tabs, and we can extend it using bots. And just consider bots another app of some sort that's going to communicate within Microsoft Teams. So this is some information about Microsoft Teams that I want you to be aware of when you're trying to decide just really what you want from Microsoft Teams. And the license versus the free version is going to be one of the bigger decisions that you're going to have to make. Now, some of the configuration options from an admin's perspective are managed through PowerShell. As you can see here, we've got quite a few PowerShell options that we have. And you'll see that I use a format here. If it says verb on the beginning, that means there are multiple PowerShell commandlets. So for instance, the very first one says verb -team, because there's a new -team, there's a remove -team, there's a set -team, and there's a get -team. The verb -team user, there's an add, there's a get, and there's remove. The verb -team channel, there's a new, remove, set, and there's a get. The verb -team member settings, there's a get and a set. The verb -team guest settings, there's a get and a set commandlet for that. The verb team fund settings, there's a get and a set. The verb team messaging settings, there's a get and a set. We can also go in and set things like the team picture using set-team picture or get-team help if you want to get some information regarding Teams. And you can connect or disconnect to Microsoft Teams using this final PowerShell command called connect-Microsoft Teams, and the flip of that is disconnect-Microsoft Teams to allow you to establish a connection that allows you to perform several of these PowerShell commands that you see here. Remember, if you understand PowerShell at all, you know a new or an add is pretty similar. You know a get is going to retrieve information. You know a set is going to update a configuration setting. So as long as you have an understanding of PowerShell, it'll be pretty straightforward for you to manage your Microsoft Teams using PowerShell, and the bulk of the commands you need to do so are sitting right here.